The discos have never been this active. Now they are working on fixing their feeders, fixing their injection substations, fixing their distribution transformers, bringing in more meters, because they know there's a possibility of making more money when they can reflect the service covenants in the customers. There's an encouragement, there's an incentive for them to do more. Discos that before now were rejecting power. What Nigerians knew was, our generation was not more than 4,000. Even part of that 4,000 was not taken by the discos because there was no incentive for them to take it. They were taken at 55 naira, 50 naira, which is not covering their costs. And from there, they won't be able to collect some part of their bills. So there was no incentive. Now that we have adjusted the tariff upward, and there's a covenant for them to meet service in that quarters. So they've been able to exhaust the power supply by the GENCOs and the transmission company. Now the other bands are being deprived of power. So the discos are now asking for more power to be able to service the other bands. That is the demand we wanted to stimulate. Now there's an encouragement for more production. So the generating companies now are raising or ramping up their outputs. And that is how we intend to transform the industry. From the technical perspective, we have competent engineers spread across all the segments of the power sector. We have them in generating companies, both the hydro and the thermal plants. We have them plenty in the Transmission Company of Nigeria, across all the substations we have, including the National Control Center in Oshogbo and that of Shiroro. Distribution companies are headed by engineers. Their chief technical officers are engineers. Their field officers are engineers. So our issue is not about lack of capable hands. But we need people that understand the markets, that understand the economics. Once the business is good, the sector will be good. Which is why it doesn't matter who is appointed the Minister of Power. It could be an engineer, it could be a lawyer, it could be a banker, it could be an accountant, it could be a medical doctor. So far, he has an understanding of how a market should run for optimal performance. And with the support of the technical people around us, I don't think we are lacking in knowledge. And I want to thank AFDB, I want to thank UKNIF, and other development partners that have shown interest in supporting the ministry, in supporting our agencies, to ensure that we rise up to the occasion to change the face of the power sector.
90 million out of 600 million people in Africa without electricity access live in your beautiful country. The effectiveness of the reforms will also be measured based on how much of the over 13 gigawatts of installed capacity Nigeria utilizes for its development, improvement in transmission capacity, reduction in average frequency and duration of supply interruptions, as well as the extent to which system losses are reduced from the current 40%, I understand, to about maybe lower teens. And ultimately, which is, I'm sure will be of interest to all of you, the financial viability of the entire power sector value chain. As my president so elegantly put it recently, no economy can grow in the dark, and no economy can industrialize in the dark, and no economy can be competitive in the dark. In the event, just imagine how Nigeria's economy could be transformed if it were to have reliable power. Hopefully, this AEMP marks that first step for the revitalization of the power sector. The African Development Bank is acutely aware of the extent of the challenge, and this ranges from addressing electricity access deficit to rehabilitating and upgrading the power system to meet the load of 20 gigawatts, which I believe is approximately the true demand for Nigeria's 200 million people. Hence, we must have all our hands on the deck, emboldened and empowered by the new Electricity Act 2023. And at AFDB, we put our money where our mouth is, as is clearly manifested by the fact that we will shortly be seeking board approval for what our Director General just mentioned, a $1 billion policy-based operation with significant energy component aimed at supporting the ongoing power sector reforms triggered by the Electricity Act. The timing of the AEMP is the timing of the AEMP and the policy-based lending focused on energy sector is therefore not coincidental. We intend to finance the policy recommendations to actualize the expected outcomes of the National Integrated Electricity Policy and Strategic Implementation Plan. We say good policies attract sustainable investments. And this reminds me, and I expect that most of you would be power people, of Ohm's law. Ohm's law says that electricity or current follows the path of least resistance. I offer to you that that capital also follows the path of least resistance. With the existence of an enabling environment equivalent to what I'm calling a path of least resistance, and hence the bank's focus on supporting and engendering the figurative least resistance. The enabling environment will maximize the value of ongoing investments, including what was alluded to earlier, the 256 million Nigeria transmission expansion project that entails the construction of 500 kilometers of transmission lines and 4 substations with a capacity of over 1,000 MVA, and the 200 million Nigeria electricity project that will build 150 mini-grids. Moreover, again, this was mentioned, and it's very important to emphasize this, we will be financing a study for the Transmission Company of Nigeria to explore the deployment of battery energy storage systems to enhance grid stability and facilitate greater renewable energy generation. I think, and this is important because it will, yeah, that's okay. Which brings me to the next item, which is generation. Nigeria is part of the flagship $20 billion Desert to Power initiative, which aims to generate 10,000 megawatts of solar across 11 countries in the Sahel region to provide power to 250 million people.
In line with our strategic objective to accelerate universal energy access through the Light Up and Power Africa High Five, the African Development Bank is supporting Nigeria's power sector reforms. Our current portfolio in the power sector stands at around $410 million in support of 2 key projects. The Nigeria Electrification Project seeks to expand access to energy by providing off-grid solutions to the unserved populations while piloting innovative approaches to enhance the productive use of energy in rural areas. Under the Nigeria Transmission Expansion Project, we are supporting the federal government of Nigeria to construct and rehabilitate up to 500 kilometers of transmission networks serving as the backbone in the system. The bank is also providing other technical support. For instance, the preparation of a feasibility study for a 1 gigawatt solar power project in Jigawa, which is at an early development stage, as well as the study on battery energy storage systems to support the country tap into new technologies for a sustainable energy future. The African Development Bank will continue its support to the federal government of Nigeria, especially through the proposed policy-based operation named the Economic Governance and Energy Transition Support Program that we intend to take to our Board of Directors before the end of June for support to the government to continue to implement its reforms that will drive increased investments and competitiveness of the power sector and deliver a just energy transition. Honorable Minister, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude my remarks by quoting President Akinwumi Adesina during his remarks at the Presidential Inauguration Lecture held on 27 May 2003 for the incoming President. And I quote, for faster growth, Nigeria must decisively fix the issue of power once and for all.